All right. Welcome to the Friday lineup builder for Fanduel and Draftkings for this college football slate. It's an interesting one. As always, I like to start with the player pool and then we'll get into building something. So, quarterback wise, Haynes King's my clear top option. He's going to be featured on both sites for me. He's going to be a featured option in all of my lineups. I think that Georgia Tech is going to dominate. I got a good amount bet on Georgia Tech to cover at Colorado. Just not a believer in Caden Salter. I think that offense for Colorado takes a big step back for obvious reasons. I think they do have weapons, but they still don't have a run game. Georgia Tech's defense is not as strong as their offense. Their offense is going to be absolutely nasty. Plenty of weapons for Haynes King. And King has double-digit touchdowns each of the last 2 years on the ground. When he's healthy, he is a dynamic weapon. He's just had some injury woes pop up, and that really cost them last year. If he can stay healthy, he is a top option throughout the course of this season, and they could be an ACC title contender with him healthy for the entire year. Aiden Childs, man, he pops in projection, but I'm not planning to play him. But I think he should be in your pool if you were going to run 20 max or 150 max. Aiden Childs definitely in the player pool. My second favorite guy is going to be Walker Eaget. I mentioned him yesterday on the show that if he gets a ton of run and everybody's playing him, we know that there's everybody playing optimizers and paying for websites because who the heck knows who Walker Eaget is outside of nut jobs like myself and industry folks. They throw the ball a ton, and I'm going to play him stacked up. I think he's got a decent price tag. Jackson Arnold also in my pool, more towards the 150 max. He can run a good bit. He's got great weapons on the outside. I don't think Baylor's too much of a problem from a defensive standpoint. I'm still an Arnold believer, so I do not mind taking shots there. Hunter Watson, we saw UNLV just get absolutely toasted last week. He can run. He had 94 yards rushing and a touchdown on the ground last week in that game. I think you could take shots there at 94. Begrudgingly, I'm going to say that Robbie Ashford should be in your pool if you're playing multiple lineups, like a lot. You're going to need at least 5 to 10. I don't like Robbie Ashford. I think he's a pure pivot play off of Damon Claiborne. I think you can play him with Claiborne to try to get all of the touchdowns. Wake's going to blow Kennesaw out of the water. I'm playing that game through Claiborne, but I understand if you want to take shots on Ashford with his legs. Last guy in the player pool on FanDuel here for me, Connor Harrell. He can run. He was named the team captain. He's the starter there. Tim Albin, quality coach. 8,200 is a good price tag for him. I would take shots there, but once again, he's more on the low end for me. I prefer Haynes King, Eaget, Arnold, Watson, kind of in that order for me. And then you can sprinkle some of the Childs, Ashford, Harrells, but you need to be playing a lot of lineups to make that work. Running back wise, Devon Claiborne is by far and away my number one RB. I think he ends up he's the entire offense for the most part. I think he gets just massive usage, and he's probably the safe bet to score 2 touchdowns and hit the 100-yard mark. I think he clears 20 points in this matchup fairly easily. Bryson Washington's a good player. I don't know that you need to go there. It's a decent matchup, but I think it's definitely tougher than Claiborne's. I think he's in play. He should be in your pool. I think you can take shots there, specifically if you want to go opposite by getting an Ashford team in there and saying Ashford steals some of these touchdowns from Claiborne. You can throw Washington in. He's always a good option to throw into the mix. Rashad Dubinion transfers over from Arkansas down to Appalachian State. against Charlotte. I think Tim Albin's going to have this team rolling quickly, but in this situation, it's going to take some time. But so I think Appalachian State can run the ball early on Charlotte. I'm leaning into that. He's going to be in some of my lineups for sure. He's a top 3 back on the slate for me. Jamal Haynes is in play at 9,900. If you want to pivot off a Haynes King, I don't particularly want to, so I'm not necessarily getting there, but I think he is an option you can look to. Same with Jaden Thomas. He doesn't get the volume that I would like, but at 10-1, so he's expensive. He's just capable of breaking a 70-yarder at any point in time. Last week, let's look at it. Just absolutely dominant performance with 147 yards and 3 touchdowns, but he averaged 14 yards a carry and only had 10 attempts. So that's the scary part, right? Is the volume going to be there to make him viable? Floyd Chalk is in play at 93. I'm not necessarily going there with my limited set of lineups that I'm going to play this week, but I'm also playing a ton of Walker Eget. If you want to get off of Eget, I think Chalk's a good pivot there. It's just San Jose State likes to chuck it. And since I am playing a lot of Walker Eget, I'm also going to play a lot of my favorite value play, which is Trey Cornist. So Trey Cornist, starting running back at Central Michigan. Their team total's not great, but I'm getting him at 5,200. He's the starter. That's a team that likes to run the football, control the clock. I think they try to play keep away. So I like this for Cornist. You got to get value somewhere. That's where I'm going to get it. Cameron Smith for Ohio, or for Charlotte. I'm thinking Ohio because of Tim Albin. Cameron Smith, Tim Albin likes to have a ball carrier who is a kind of a bulk guy. They've talked about mixing and matching. He's popping a little bit in projections, but 4,300 you don't really need to use. You can punt down there if you want. And then the elephant in the room for me is taking shots on these Michigan State guys, and Mekhi Frazier and Brandon Tullis at 5,300 and 5,700. I think they are in play, but they're talking about a 1A, 1B situation. Don't necessarily love that. So I'm kind of going to avoid with the limited lineups that I'm going to play this week. Wide receiver wise, Cam Coleman's the top player for me as far as the high end. Him and Nick Marsh stand out for me. They're both top options. I'm perfectly happy playing either of them. I'm going to play Coleman in this situation. I think Rivers is good, but he's too priced up here. Omarion Miller, Draylon Miller, both in play. I prefer Draylon at the 62 price tag. I still, like I said, like Marsh. And then I think there's a multitude of options of places you can go here. When I'm playing Cornist, I'm going to play Marsh. I like his touchdown equity. And then for obvious reasons, my top option and my lock play that you're going to need to throw in a lineup is Leland Smith for San Jose State. So if you're playing Walker Eget, you're going to want to play at least one, if not two, San Jose pass catchers. I had hoped it would be Matthew Coleman. He's not starting, so I don't appreciate that, considering I was heavily on Coleman to start the year. I think you go into that with those guys. I think Jaden Bradley for UNLV, he played well. He's in play at 6,900. If you want to pair up Robbie Ashford, which I would not advise, it's Micah Mays Jr. at 5,300. Who you're going to do it with. Jaden Barnes is in play for App State at 7K. Josh Cameron is going to be the top option for Baylor at 86. Never hate taking shots on Josh Cameron. He's a very good player. He could pop off for 2-3 touchdowns at any point in time. The slot wide receiver replacing Nick Nash. Nick Nash was the Triple Crown winner last year. I know everybody hyped Travis Hunter. It was Nick Nash from San Jose State. He had led the nation in catches, yards, and touchdowns. Replacing his position is Danny Scudero, very small guy. I lean Leland Smith over him. Leland Smith is now going to play the Justin Lockhart position, who also was a 1,000-yard receiver for San Jose State. So there is one other way so if you don't want to go Cornist as your punt option, you can go Scudero here, get the double stack with Eget. So this is another team that I'm going to have. And then that gives me Rashad Dubinion, who I really like. So this is the second iteration of a lineup that I'm definitely playing. Jaden McGowan, I think, is the top option for Charlotte at $5K. You want to slap him in, no issues there. If you want to mix and match some different guys in there. And Joseph Williams, I think the Colorado receiving stuff is very interesting. Draylon Miller, I think, plays a little bit of running back, gets some passes. They scheme touches to him. So 6,200 is probably my favorite play from the Colorado receiving side. Like I said, Omarion Miller at 81 is fine. Joseph Williams at 68, fine. I probably lean Malik Rutherford for Georgia Tech if I was going to pair a guy with Haynes King at 7,300. I prefer that over paying the 94 for Eric Rivers, but I do think Eric Rivers going forward will be a great option. Let's switch on over to DK. So DraftKings, looking at this slate is interesting as well. It's a little bit easier to fit guys in than the Thursday slate was. Thursday was just a nightmare. For my money, Haynes King, obviously, also another option at 9,800. No problems there. He's just my top raw player by more than 2 points. Once again, Aiden Childs popping at 7,500. You want to play him? Go right ahead. I have no problems there. Like I said, playing limited lineups on DK. I'm just kind of paying a little bit more attention now to Saturday slate. Thursday gets a lot of hype. I think the forgotten slate's going to kind of be this Friday slate, and it's not as sexy of a slate, in my opinion. So I'm just kind of going to sling a little bit of mud in here and play around in the slot for a bit, but nothing too much. Walker Eget for me at 85 is my top option to pair with him. Again, these lineups are going to look very similar because of the way the pricing works out. Jackson Arnold at 89, you want to play him, no problems there. Hunter Watson, 82, no problems there. Robbie Ashford, 74, no problems there. Connor Harrell, again, 66. If that's your punt option, in my opinion, no problems there. Looking at running back wise, Damon Claiborne, again, just an absolute animal at 86. I am playing him. I don't think you can fade him. I think that's the guy. He's just, he's 2 points clear of Bryson Washington. Bryson Washington is more expensive at 9K. You want to play Washington, no issues. You can. Dubinion, I love at this price tag of 5,500. So he's locked in loaded. And then Jamal Haynes at 76. If you want to pivot off of Haynes King, no issues going to 76 there. Jaden Thomas, much more palatable price tag at 7K on here. 6K for Floyd Chalk, good price tag. I think he's in your pool. Trey Cornist is my top value option, similarly to what we saw on Fanduel. He's definitely the top value option here. Starting running back, good situation. Gives me that play at 4,200. Cameron Smith is 46. I'm kind of avoiding that situation. Same thing with the Michigan State guys. If we had a number one back for Michigan State, I'd happily play him. It's just we don't have one. So I'm going to lean towards Cornist, who I know is going to get carries, versus taking shots on Tullis or Frazier. And we thought it might be ETT at one point, but now he's gone too. Wide receiver wise, again, Leland Smith, 5,900. I like the price tag. I'm going there. I think Cam Coleman's priced up a little bit too much for me on DK. In my initial lean was to get a lot of Eric Singleton at 36 because I thought he was way too cheap to go at 3,600. But there's a report out that he's going to suit up and play, but he's not 100%. So that tells me he's not going to be on the field as much as I thought he would be. And therefore, I'm probably going to avoid. So they have enough wide receiver depth with Perry Thompson, with Malcolm Simmons, with Horatio Fields. I think Malcolm Simmons gets more run because of this. So with the lack of Singleton being healthy, I'm going to avoid. I like Jaden McGowan a good bit. That gives me a little bring back for Rashad Dubinion. McGowan transferred over. He doesn't have a ton of production last year, but he transfers over from Boston College. I believe he was previously at Vanderbilt. He's going to be in the slot. He's going to be their top option. I like the price tag at 36. He's a glaring value on this slate. Definitely going to be playing him. Josh Cameron, 62, probably priced up a little bit for me, but I think he's in play. Jaden Bradley is going to be my other play at 37. I think Jaden Bradley is going to end up being played a ton by a number of people. If you want to get different and you want to double stack Eget on this in here without being able to get to Scudero and Smith, your option is Malachi Riley. So he listed as a starter. He comes over from Arizona. He's going to play on the outside. I'm more confident in the other two, but I think it's fine to take shots on Malachi Riley if you want. But I'm going to lean into Jaden Bradley. Just playing it a little bit more safe in this situation. Draylon Miller, very good price tag at 4,600. Micah Mays, fine price tag at 4,700 if you want to pair up Robbie Ashford. I don't advise doing that unless you're playing 20-plus entries. Nick Marsh, 66, fine play. I probably prefer Scudero a little bit more given the PPR nature of DK. And then Omarion Miller's perfectly fine at 4K if you want to get there. Rutherford, Rivers, like we said, 56, 61. Not necessarily my cup of tea to pair Haynes King in this situation. I think you need the value. Wideouts, Ashton Hawkins, fine play at 3,700. He's already got good rapport with Sawyer Robertson. And then you can take shots down here. So other cheapies like Gabriel Binyard from Kennesaw, he's popping a little bit in projections at 3,600. And then Tyleek Williams, I've seen him play well before for Buffalo. He transferred over to Western Michigan, 3,400. Or no, Tyleek Williams came from Georgia State, maybe. But anyway, he transferred into Western Michigan. He's an option. I don't know what I want to go there, given that they're playing Michigan State and the talent differential. Grady O'Neal at 3K is a fine option for Sam Houston. He played out of the slot last week, really destroyed my, what was his name? The $4,500 kid from Sam Houston that I thought was going to end up playing the slot. He didn't. It was Grady O'Neal. Granted, Grady O'Neal looked like he had a concussion. He was the guy who was laid out with rigor mortis last week. So maybe he plays, maybe he doesn't. That might be something you're going to need to keep an eye on. And Dalton Stroman from App State, also interesting, but I would probably lean into Jaden Barnes at App State over Dalton Stroman. So nothing too crazy this week on this team, but this is kind of what I'm going to go with. Like I said, you can double stack with Malachi Riley right here if you want to get a double on Eget. But fairly straightforward slate. There's some options here, but tomorrow is going to be a very long preview of the Saturday slate. So I'm going to try to work on that today, trying to narrow the pool down because ultimately, my goal in these things is to get the pool down because, tomorrow we're looking at a 14-game main slate on Fanduel for this, and that's 28 quarterbacks. So when you start looking at that stuff, it's easy to get overwhelmed. So you need to narrow that thing down to 5 or 6 because you don't want to sit there and try to mix and match 20 quarterbacks. It's just not worth it. So narrowing your pool down is a massive deal. So that's what I'm going to try to focus on today. And then that way we can work on the pool and start kind of going through what my lineup construction is going to be and what shots I'm taking. Similarly on DK, I believe it's a 12-game slate. So narrow the pool down, get guys going. And once we do that, then we're able to effectively build better lineups. So good luck today on the Thursday slate. Hopefully we can win some money tonight. And then we will have our stuff built, which mine's built for tomorrow, so that I could start focusing on the Saturday slate where the big money is. Good luck, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.